You know, a lot of times when we're going through some pain, we really want some comfort, and we look for it in the wrong places. But here, Jesus is going to give us some promises that provide comfort. Are you interested in what those promises are? Now, Jesus gives us these promises, starting in verse number 8. Notice verse number 8 says this. And unto the angel in the church in Smyrna write, these things saith the first and the last. Here's the first promise that Jesus gives this little church. He says, I am eternal. Whatever you are going through is temporary. I am the God that transcends time, that stands outside of time. I am the first and the last. I am the protos and the eschatos. I am the alpha and the omega. I am the beginning and the end. He says, I am the first and the last. I don't know what you're going through today, but Jesus says, whatever you're going through, I was there before it started, and I will be there when it's long gone. Jesus was providing comfort that he stands outside of time, that he is the first and the last. In fact, notice what he says later on in this same letter in verse number 10. Are you with me today? He says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried. So he says there's going to be more difficulty that lies ahead, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. 10 days. Now, many commentators say that 10 days was maybe symbolic of 10 periods of time, or maybe this represents 10 years, or some say maybe it means exactly what it says, literally 10 days. But whatever it means, there was a period, there was an allotment of time, which means this, it would come to an end. Can I tell you some of the most encouraging words in all the Bible? This too shall pass. Jesus says, I am the first and the last. And he says, I know what you're going through in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse number 17. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. And so Jesus is providing comfort. He says, I'm the first and the last. I am eternal. Here was the second promise that Jesus told them. The second promise was this: I know all about suffering. Jesus says, I want you to know, I know all about suffering. Notice in verse number 8. It says, these things say the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. And here, this is a reference to the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And Jesus says, I know that you're suffering, and I know all about suffering, because the death that Jesus died was the most bloody and gruesome death imaginable. Jesus was saying, I know all about suffering. The Bible says this in Philippians chapter 2, verse number 8, and being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself, and he became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. If anyone knows about suffering, Jesus knows about suffering. You know, if you're like me, you have some scars from your life, physical scars. I have some scars on my hand. And you know what's interesting about scars is scars always tell a story. And you know, Jesus has some scars as well. His hands and his feet. Jesus has scars. Jesus knows all about pain. He knows all about suffering. And so Jesus was telling this little church, time and time again, you'll read the words, I know. What Jesus is communicating is this: I know. Yeah. That's good. I know what you're going through. Yeah. The person sitting next to you today might not know. I might not know, but Jesus knows. He says, I know all about suffering, and I know all about your suffering. And when you are hurting, it's good to talk to someone that knows about the same hurts. And Jesus says, come to me, all you that are heavy and laden, and I will give you rest. That we can boldly approach the throne of grace, and we can talk to Jesus, and he can provide comfort and help in our time of need. And so Jesus says, I know, and he provides these promises.